What's up, everyone? You know what night it is. Wednesday night, off-centered, with Dustin, the most inappropriately named YouTube channel out there in all the land, the personal finance dad, even though all he talks about is cards and video games for some reason. But anyway, this is the last show of the year of 2021. What a crazy year it's been. We're going to be discussing 2021 as well as 2022 and what we anticipate next year for the hobby, for ourselves. A lot of surprises happened this year, and we didn't exactly anticipate everything like what we went over this time last year for 2021. But we will go over our biggest surprises. We'll go over our bold predictions for next year, as well as our wish list, so we can at least put it out there and see if it comes to fruition. So great to see so many of you guys in the chat. With that being said, welcome back. Now let's get to work. And Dustin, there you are. Had to stall while you were picking up your jug of milk or something.
Oof, yeah, snack time. Thanks for holding out for me there. I knew you could talk through that. I knew you could keep talking for an extra minute.
I'm a rambler, man. I'm a rambler, so I could keep going and going. It's hard to stop myself. Let's say hi to a couple people real quick. We got South Stands 303, first one in here. Brian Sherlin, go Bucks. Absolutely right. Mike C, good to see you as always. Troy's Collectibles. They're great to see you, man. All the usuals are in here. All of our dudes. Brian Sherlin again. Yeah, rest in peace, John Madden. I mean, I knew the video game more than the man, more than the commentator, more than the coach or anything like that. But that name John Madden and his legacy is huge in the football world.
Yeah, that's sad to see him go, but I didn't realize he was 85. I don't know. For some reason, it just feels like he's just going to live on forever. But
his legacy will be.
Honestly, like when people talk about how great Tony Romo is as a commentator, I mean, these guys don't hold a candle to John Madden and Pat Summerall and how they called games. I mean, that was like, the top of the food chain, and then there's everybody else.
Good stuff. Ryan, good to see you in here as well. Totally agree, except for the call it quits. I want him to keep going. Stephen Ryan, yeah, Troy, you pretty much nailed it there. Here's the thing, man. Tom Brady takes such good care of himself. He's going to change the way that other quarterbacks treat their body, because you see them all look. I saw Aaron Rodgers in the post game interview. He looked old, and Tom Brady looks young. Tom Brady, he has some gray, but his skin looks good. Aaron Rodgers looks like a weathered baseball glove, and I'm like, man. So I don't know if it's a stress diet. Glove. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, and I have no idea. But do you think that Brady's doing the Botox and that sort of stuff, whereas Rodgers might be like, screw it, I don't really care?
I don't know about. I think
I don't know. I mean, I'm asking. I don't know anything about that stuff.
Yeah. I don't know either. If he's doing anything like that, it's so subtle. Because here's the thing. Living in LA, you could spot Botox when it's obvious. If he's doing it, he's doing a very little amount. But honestly, him on the field is bigger than anything else besides it, because he doesn't need to focus on his looks. Because when you're the greatest quarterback ever and you're living this long, all you have to do is run with that. It's kind of like Anthony Davis doesn't need to shave his eyebrow. He just needs to not get injured and play better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
The only kind I make.
Nice analogy there.
Good to see a global sports card investor. All right, man. Well, let's talk about it. Prodigy's in here as well. Daniel's in as well in here. Baseball season misses any regular season. The whole market sees another huge drop. That'd be interesting.
You know, it's weird though. So, devil's advocate against that statement right there. Think back to 2020 when they suspended all sports because of the pandemic, and card prices went straight up. So it's does it really matter? I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about, kind of speculate on that as well with, if the baseball lockout, it's going to mess up cards or whatever. And it's but will it? We don't really know that. Oh, whatever. JJ Bam is just a hater.
JJ, can I keep this comment up the entire stream? Would that be okay? well, you missed it while you were grabbing is that Diet Coke? Is that Cherry Coke? Coke Zero?
Coke Zero. Yeah.
Coke Zero. Okay. So it's 0 calories, twice the chemicals, something like that.
Oh, I'll take all the chemicals they've got. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny because like I introduced you as Dustin, the most inappropriately named channel, or like the biggest misnomer of a channel that and I've told you you should have changed it a long time ago.
No, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into just sports cards. You never know. You never know. Plus, we're talking about a lot of finance, big picture things. So we're just bringing it all in together.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway. The baseball thing.
I know why Brad needs to have this show on his channel, because all of the haters come on. All of the people in the chat are against me when it's on your show. I love it.
It's more fun that way. We like cyber bullying you together.
You're like, do you mind if we please do it on my channel? I'm like, okay, I guess so.
Well, honestly, I mean, going into 2022 and what we want to talk about in terms of resolutions, how we want to approach 2022 personally, what we think, obviously the hobby, there's going to be a lot going on next year just because we've seen so much the last 2 years. We know of things in the works. There's going to be movement. But in terms of, the show being on my channel, I got other opportunities I'll talk about and ways that I want to pivot myself in 2022. And speaking of which, look at this, Michael Stone. Look at this. I got Hinge notifications popping up right now. Maha. Her name is Maha. Very hot name. Maha.
Actually, so Brad's in kind of an awkward spot because he actually needs to transition to Brad, the personal finance bachelor. And he's just trying to figure out, how are we going to do this? So we're trying to, and then I'll do a switch.
Look, guys, hold on a second. Let us get into this. We'll get into sports cards in a second, but I've been like thinking, how do I incorporate my personal dating life into sports cards? Where's that mix? Where's that combination? Because if it's there, if that overlap is there, I'm going to take it. That'll be my niche.
One day that your channel is just going to turn into solely Hinge dating advice. All of a sudden, Brad's putting out 7 videos a week, and it's just all about Hinge stuff.
Hey, man. Hey, that doesn't sound like the worst side channel. That's not a bad pivot right there. Anyway,
I'm not complaining.
All right. Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah. If there's any comments there, like, Brad, want to see you take a girl out on a first date to a card show and see her response.
No, the best is just video every single date you go on. And then like towards the end of the meal, like, so I just want to talk about these cards. Like, what do you think about the cards? And just get the reaction on tape of the cards to the cards, and just and post all day. Just post that. That's it.
Another notification. Sweet. So we might have to cut this short. It'd be funny though. You go on one of these dates and you have no idea she's totally into cards, and then she's like, "Honestly, I think the base prism's overpriced. I would go with a parallel, maybe like a red wave." And you're like, "What?"
She's
I'm
like,
more of a vintage gal anyway.
She's like, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I've seen your channel, and I just wanted to tell you to your face, you're a loser. Your collection sucks.
And I'd be like, can you say that one more time, but on tape? I really need the views.
I need the content.
Yeah, dude. Here's what's funny. Like, me and Dustin basically have the same background. All right, I'll swivel this around. But what's funny is that the light is all coming this way. So the only way that I'm lit up is if you're looking at blank walls. And then my living room's there, which I still haven't put up decor yet. I've been here about 3.5 weeks, and then here's my kitchen, and I have this nice light that I like, but obviously that is exactly why you're staring at walls right now. Okay.
Yeah, let me see. I've got like a shelf over here. Where is it? I've got like an old football, a helmet.
Please fall.
An old baseball mitt. Here, I'll grab my Saints helmet. Hold on. Okay.
Where's your above ground hot tub?
It's outside. Here, I'll put my.
That's actually a sick helmet, man. I got to give you credit for that.
Yeah, no, this was a good deal.
Good to see you.
Raleigh card show where I was not allowed to film. I was not allowed to film it.
Wait, what? You went to the Raleigh show and you weren't allowed to film?
Yeah, they've got a new thing now where you can't. The promoter doesn't allow any sort of video or photos or anything.
Okay, actually, that's very interesting. Let's just touch on that. Do you know the reasoning? Because I would imagine. Okay, what's the reasoning?
It's the sign basically states like dealer privacy. So I assume that it's probably dealers that said like that told the promoter, I don't want to be on camera. I'm assuming that, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Dude, El Duderino, great to see you in here as well. That the big thing with no filming in there is, I would imagine the filming is the best thing that any card show could allow. Even if
Well,
some people don't like it, the overall benefit would be a lot bigger, or better.
the thing that's really ironic about it is because I've been to that show for a couple of years, and a year and a half ago, nobody was at that show. And I'm not even talking about I'm talking about pre-pandemic, but then also when they started the show kind of post-pandemic, when they started opening it back up a little bit, it was half full, as far as like vendors. And now it's packed. Now it's like packed wall to wall with tables. So maybe the promoter's just like, you know what? If I don't really need it. Like if there's people that are complaining, I don't really need the buzz because I'm selling out my space. But it's only as good as it's good. I mean, it could next week it could be empty. Depending on what happens.
Well, so okay, you can't, if you're a show and you're like, hey, we don't want to have media here because we're busy enough. I think that's kind of a bit unfair, because one of the reasons why these shows are as big as they are is because the media push overall. And I'd say the media outside of the vlog content, but when you see the vlog content and you're like, wow, the national looks amazing, and wow, Dallas looks amazing. Yeah, it should make people more excited to go to the local show. So,
and to be honest, I mean, it's the vlog content that dominates sports card content nowadays. I mean, if you look at, outside of my channel, and like, a handful of others, but most of it is just dudes at card shows or ladies at card shows or whatever, and they're just filming. I mean, that's what it is now.
Yeah, and that's why you were so disappointed, because you really went just for the content.
I'm like, I need this content.
Don't you know who I am?
You don't understand. You don't understand how bad I need this.
All right, so next strategy, you get one of those undercover cameras and you put
I'm going to the Raleigh card show this weekend. I'm just going to set up like fake tables outside of my house. And here we are. They're like, wait, is that your lawn? No, we're outside the show.
So this is what you do. This is the game plan. If they say no, you can't film, then next time you put up a fake show that looks dreadful, so that it's taking people away from the show, so they don't even go. They're like, oh, the Raleigh show looks horrible. It's an empty high school gym with 4 tables. And then Dustin's standing there for some reason. I definitely don't want to go.
I have someone like punch me out. Like, I got punched at the Raleigh show, whatever. Yeah.
Sure. I think we should transition at some point.
What do you mean? I thought we were flying high on this topic.
Yeah. Well, I did see a question here from Ed, and yeah, I have been less active for content, which also means cards, because I haven't moved a lot of my inventory, and I have a new video that'll be coming out in a couple of weeks, just going over some of my pivots for next year. But it's all based on the card market, where if I'm holding whatever, I don't know, 15 to 20 grand, maybe 15 to 20 grand worth of cards that I wanted to move so I can get new stuff. So when I get new stuff and sell the old stuff, then I could put out content. This is what I'm selling it for. I took a loss. I made a profit, something, and then I could buy more. But because the card market was just a steady decline for so much of the year, and now it's still way lower than what I paid, and I'm not really excited to move at a big loss. I would rather hold for another year and see what happens. But it also slows down everything, right? It's basically like the machine stops when everything stops turning. So that I'll go over that in another video, but great observation. Let's. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's a good comment here. Daddy daughter cards at 9:13. I'm going to my first national in Atlantic City next year because of how amazing it looked on YouTube. And I do agree. I mean, I enjoy watching that vlog content just to kind of see how different shows look, see how different deals go down and so forth. I'm looking to go to the Culture Collision show in Atlanta. Actually, I haven't told you this yet, Brad, but I think that's probably too far east for you, I would guess.
Yeah, that's the exact opposite side of the country.
Yeah, that one's at the end of February. That's coming up. So I'll go to the local shows here, the Raleigh stuff, but then Atlanta, I think it's called Culture Collision. I might have the name wrong there, but I'm excited to go to that show. And then I'll be at the National in Atlantic City as well at the end of July. We're just trying to figure out all of our travel plans now.
Are you sure you're allowed to record at the Atlanta show?
I'm not sure, but I'll tell you though, I've met the promoter for that show, and I think that they're pretty innovative. That show in particular is pretty kind of it just has a lot of different new ideas for shows. So I'm gonna check it out. But I'm not worried, honestly. Like, I'm not going there to film like 30 hours of vlog footage or anything. More
So
like
it's going to be an easy day.
more like 50 hours of footage.
Bring your other iPhone 4.
Yeah. I've got to have Kim. I have to have my wife come so that we have extra hands on extra cameras. I'm like, babe, I need you to get other angles. Like, what are you doing? I need you working.
There he is.
Hey, I'm going to take that as a compliment, Steve, because that is one of the greatest shows ever. It's one of my 90s nostalgia shows.
Yeah. In fact, I think someone gave me, I forgot who it was. It was at the National. Someone gave me a Beavis and Butthead, I believe it was a pack of cards that I haven't opened yet. But like stuff like that, not saying it's worth a lot, but man, there's a lot of nostalgic value to the Simpsons cards, the Beavis and Butthead, all that stuff that might be overprinted and worth like a few dollars, but the value, like the nostalgic value is worth 100 times more. So that's the kind of stuff I'll buy all day long because there's no downside from a $5 pack. But when you look at it, you're immediately tapping into 1993 or whatever year it was. Yeah, there we go. We should just set up we should just sell food instead of cards. We should just. I'll bring my smoothies and giant cake.
Corn dogs at the show.
Dustin will sell corn dogs. I'll sell green smoothies and cupcakes. That'll be my thing. We'd probably make more money doing that than actually selling cards.
I like it. Hey, we're thinking outside the box.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Dustin's penny loafers. If you haven't seen Dustin from the waist down, it's like gray sweatpants and like brown, loafers, business loafers. It's a very strange combination, but that's his go-to look.
Yeah, it's my professional cash dad look.
I guess. I hope I don't dress like that when I'm a father, or at least find out that I'm a father.
Yeah, when you're 60 and when you're a father.
Yeah. Hey, we'll see, man. At this pace, I got all these notifications on Hinge, so it might be sooner than later. Anyway,
9 months. 9 months.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Let's talk about actually like cards and stuff. 2021. Let's go back to January. We thought this year was going to be obviously a huge year for cards, but definitely different than what we imagined, what it turned out to be. So going back, what was the biggest surprise about 2021? And then maybe the biggest prediction, I guess, you got wrong.
I think the biggest surprise that I probably should have seen coming, I guess, is PSA and BGS essentially shutting down. I guess I just didn't think, I knew there was a lot of volume. I knew that they had a backlog, but I guess I just didn't realize, the immense amount of, cards that were going in. And then also just them not being able to handle that rush. I don't work inside those places. I have no idea how many graders they have, and all of that stuff. So I think when they actually shut down and then just kind of shut off that part of the hobby, I would say that would be the biggest surprise to me. Now, looking back now, it's not a surprise when you kind of understand, the amount of cards that went in, but that was definitely the biggest surprise. And I think that it's kind of like one of those things when you're in it. What's that phrase when everything's kind of humming along, whether it be sports cards or, stocks or real estate or whatever, when everything is great, you don't question anything. You just kind of keep on riding it until it, just because it's just going to go on forever. And, it just felt like, especially since the first quarter was probably the most money sold in sports cards, maybe ever.
Probably
the first quarter of 2021. I mean, eBay sold $1 billion on their website, $1 billion, in just the first couple of months of the year. So it was interesting kind of how the year started, and then everything had to kind of catch up. So I think that was the first surprise. And then I don't know, what was the second part of the question?
Well, was there anything, I mean, it goes hand in hand with that first part, but any prediction you had? Let's go with prediction. Did you have a prediction for this year that was either right or wrong? I mean, if that's your surprise, then that was probably a prediction that it would go differently. But is there something that you guessed that either you saw or you're surprised you didn't see?
Well, I'm not surprised that Luka Doncic PSA 10 base prisms are not $2,000 today. That was one that, one particular card, and I'm not touting myself as being some sort of card genius. I think anybody could have kind of seen that coming, but just questioned really, how that card got to be that much. And then, I kind of predicted that would be under $500. And I remember people thinking that I was the biggest moron in the comments when I was talking about that a year ago, really, about how that card was going to drop, or in my opinion, it was going to drop. So I'm not as surprised at kind of that, those the base cards and a lot of that stuff moving downward. I didn't think that it was going to move down as quickly, I guess, in as much as it has, but I did think like there's just no way that this, kind of that more common stuff can maintain the way that it had that first, kind of leading into 2021, and then as we got into 2021, that was surprising. So I guess it did retrace. I didn't think it was going to maybe retrace as much as it did, but it's not overall shocking. I mean, I guess that's, and then as far as a prediction goes, I do think that a bright spot in 2022 will be that my prediction is that PSA does kind of get their acts in gear. They are able to kind of, open up more tiers, and they are able to handle more cards, and kind of that buy raw to sell grade, which people, graded, which people had been doing for years leading up to that point. That was really like 2017 up until the end of 2020. And then it just shut down. I think that that's going to come back to some degree next year. I don't think it's going to be the same as it was, but I think it's going to come back to some degree.
Yeah. Interesting. It'll be very interesting when PSA opens up and at what tier. I know regular service opened up today, I believe, or it was announced that it's opening up at $100 a card. So it's obviously like way above that threshold for a majority of base rookie cards, or maybe even silvers, or a lot of that, but it's still progress. I mean, they're moving in the right direction. I'm still surprised how many cards were at PSA, because I didn't know the exact number of the backlog. And I remember thinking 1 million cards was like, holy crap, 1 million? This is going to, be disastrous, or this is huge. And only to realize that they're going through 1 million cards every 5 to 6 weeks. Like that's what their turnaround is now. And so what's the backlog? Have you heard a number? Is it like 8 million or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, people have been trying to figure that out, running numbers, because gem rates got it, that they were on pace for like 7 or 8 million cards, and so how many do they still have left? How many do they still have, and all that. I don't know if anyone knows for certain outside of the people at PSA, obviously, but I think yeah.
Well, I was going to say, have you seen that PSA is actually putting out some of their numbers on their Instagram?
Oh, I didn't see that yet.
Yeah, let me see if I could pull that up, just because I thought it was really interesting that they would put out their own numbers in terms of how much they're grading.
Oh, maybe I did see something like that.
So check this out. I'm going to share the screen in a second so y'all could see it. But I thought it was interesting because I was like, well, are they trying to, they see what gem rate's doing, and they're trying to put out their own information to make sure it's accurate. Are they trying to, add something? But check this out right here. Updating our backlog, 80% of our current capacity is being allocated to backlog, 20% to new submissions. PSA has graded and shipped over 2,418,779 or whatever cards in 2021. Graded 7.6 million items in 2021 year to date.
Yeah, I did see this graph. Okay.
So, I mean, that's not like too in depth, but like that's a decent amount of transparency, assuming it's accurate.
Yeah, it does seem like PSA has started to kind of up their game as far as their social media accounts and different things like that. I do kind of wonder too if they're going to have more specialized media and things, and more specialized content, if that's going to be more of a focus for them, especially when you consider they're just acquiring so many different, they're dipping into a lot of different places, whether we're talking about even like graded video games with WADA, is something that they've started doing as well. They just have a lot of things going, and who knows, maybe they're not done acquiring, maybe there's more to come. And I think that it does seem like they've been more out front, with that stuff. Nat Turner interviews all the time. You think about a guy that's running a company, he's out front quite a bit. Like, I mean, compared to other companies.
I was going to say, I like the fact that Nat Turner, as well as Josh Luber, and it's kind of the trend we're seeing with companies now, is that we want the CEO or founder to be someone we know versus someone that's cherry picked, that's in the dark, or maybe they're the founder, but they're not very, they don't display themselves publicly. Because you see Elon Musk and you see some of these guys, Jeff Bezos, at least who's at the top. And I think I just like that. I like the fact that Josh Luber and Nat Turner and some of the others are doing interviews, because I want to know who is the person in charge? Are they relatable? Are they someone that I feel like I could trust just based on an interview? Or are they hiding? Or is it like they're so private that we don't know what's going on? And I feel like it's just a trend going forward in all companies, and maybe social media has just amplified that. In terms of 2021, though, I did not expect. I expected cards to increase in pop count, of course. I didn't expect the drop off to be what it was, because I still felt like there was a lot more room for it to grow. I thought it was like, hey, this is fun. It has history. It's going to expand. It's not all over. I mean, it's on news channels, like little segments here or there, but it's not like fully. It's not like fantasy football is very mainstream. Everyone knows about it. There's shows dedicated to it. It is just so underdeveloped, especially the last 12 months compared to what it will be. And so for the market to drop the way it did for the majority of cards, not like we saw Formula One, we saw the super rare cards, UFC cards, some other niches take over. But I thought it was going to be more like ups, downs versus the peak in February, March. And then it just go down and down and down. And then more cards get pumped in the system. And then it's like down, 10% up, down 20, up 15, down 10, that kind of stuff. So that was definitely disappointing, because my resolution was to make a full-time income stream from flipping graded cards. And I really went in, and I'm like, well, that sucks, because the best investments I made were all the raw cards I got graded for $10 a pop. And a lot of the graded cards I bought didn't do well at all, even though I bought off season, in that the 2 to 3 week window where it's really forgotten about. And so it's disappointing, because I wanted it to be at least the base prisms, the silver prisms, that kind of stuff, to be very predictable and more like a stock market, while all the other stuff could be more collector based. But if I could, make some money with the boring stuff, then I could move up and buy the cool stuff. But if you can't move the boring stuff, then kind of sucks. So
one thing that's kind of that's tricky about 2021 also, as far as gauging the market, as a whole, is you also had a lot of transactions move offline and in person to card shows. If you think about how many card shows happened in 2021 compared to 2020, you're talking about a ton, whereas in 2020 there was virtually none. And, so when you're looking at eBay data, or you're looking at, any of these other, and then PWCC breaks off from eBay, that's a massive piece of data that's coming off of eBay data that goes away. It's like all the data is kind of like siloed out, so it's really tricky. There's probably certain pockets of the market that are doing great, and I have heard people say like, oh, well, on the higher end, if you're talking about $5,000 and up, then the market has been doing fantastically well. The problem, though, is that, the people I'm around, it shows that 99% of them are not buying $5,000 cards. So if we're talking about the hobby and the market, you're talking about like 0.01% that are buying, 5,000 and up, type stuff, or $1 million cards or whatever. So,
and I would say like even 5,000, that's hit or miss. It's really the 10, 15, $20,000 stuff that you could feel better about. But even 5,000 doesn't seem like it's that. That could be like, an unproven player, a very rare card of an unproven player, but it's not necessarily, that's not a Michael Jordan PSA 10. That's not PSA 9. That's what, like maybe PSA 8. I'd have to check the prices, but $5,000, is that Jordan PSA 8? Roughly?
Oh, for a regular 86 Flair rookie?
Yeah.
No, it's an 8 is more. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's definitely more.
Okay, I'd have to look at it. Maybe it's a 7, but the point is that a $5,000 card is a big deal, except if you were in the hobby 2019 or earlier, then you just basically have, 10% of that, of whatever number, is what you pretty much paid prior to 2020. So, but anyway, going back to a couple points you made, big bold prediction for me. There's a couple. I believe one grading company and one platform that we know of today will not exist by the end of 2022. I think that. Okay. I think that what we had over the last year and a half is people seeing opportunities to start companies, to start platforms, to start grading companies and everything else. And because, especially the grading side, we're talking about PSA, they've been like catching up, but they're the big dog. So they're the one where if they come back with that $20 service, that's going to wipe out, that should wipe out a lot of the smaller companies that have only been able to introduce themselves and get some business because no one has a good place to send their cards to. But if PSA says, hey guys, we're back, 3-month turnaround, $20 a card, I don't know what these smaller, newer companies could do unless it's based on a novelty slab or something where it's just, this is the best looking slab in the game. It's only for collectors that don't want to move the card. However, it's tough to compete with PSA when the cards sell for more and they introduce a tier and a turnaround time that makes sense for people. So that's on the grading side. Platform side, I feel like we've seen a lot of platforms come up. There was a good question here about from Michael about buying fractionalized cards.
Yeah.
We have Otis, Rally Road, Collectible, Dibs. We have several, and a lot of them are based on seed money. They got their rounds of funding, but that doesn't last forever. And so at some point it'll be, well, are you actually making enough money? Is there enough business? And we've seen a lot of pivots, right? Star stocks pivoted. A lot of them have pivoted based on the market changing. Will they all be in business this time next year? I think at least one household name, especially one of the newer companies, will not be. And I don't know which one. I just don't think that there's room for all of them.
Yeah, for me, so I haven't bought anything new on Otis lately. I'm not necessarily affiliated, as in they don't sponsor my channel, Otis, anymore. But we still have good rapport. I liked working with them. I do have a couple of holdings with them. I'm a customer of theirs, and for fractional, for me, and I'm only a customer of Otis. I haven't tried out any of the other fractional companies, but it's always for me, what was the initial buy? What's the initial valuation? And do I feel good about that? Did they buy it for $1 million? And do I feel good about that million? Did they buy it for 50 grand? Do I feel good about that? And then how is it being offered? How many shares? You kind of have to really kind of break that down. For me, though, I'm not a heavy player in the fractional market yet. Not to say that I won't be in the future, but I do like it. I think that there's, it's got a place, but I wouldn't say I'm not a heavy participant.
Gotcha. Yeah. And fractionalize is something I've not done yet, but what interests me is that when you see that the high-end market is the only market that seems to be doing consistently well, that's when owning 5%, 2% of a high-end card seems a lot better than owning 100% of a mediocre or crappy card. So it's not the same. It's not like something you're collecting and putting in your room or on your shelf or something. But in terms of an investment, I would rather own, even if it's not a card, a fraction of Michael Jordan's rookie year shoes, which sold for $1 million. I don't know if that's a good price or not based on, I don't know where it's going to go. It's the highest price ever. At the same time, if it's the shoes that Michael Jordan wore in his first ever basketball game, I know it's valuable. I just don't know what number, versus a lot of the cards where you're like, the only reason it's valuable is because someone paid more for it in the past and I'm hoping they will again, or I'm buying it at this price hoping this player does better and someone will value it more. But you have to kind of justify or try and reason why it's a value. So I don't know if I'll be looking into fractionalized seriously, but I would definitely consider it just because it seems like a better alternative to a lot of the cards now, which are, going up in pop counts, and the people that were interested in those cards aren't in the hobby anymore. Okay. Another thing, what's funny is I'll do a video on my bold predictions for 2022, but I got to just multi-purpose. So if you're watching this, then you're going to see this again in an upcoming video. Biggest takeaway from 2021 for me, I don't know if I went over that. I think just, I think it's just, I knew things couldn't just go up, but I thought it could go up, down versus just down, down, down for this long of a period. Biggest takeaway is like going forward is make sure a collector would want the card, because if you're buying cards for the flipper demographic, they're the first ones to flip into something else. So that's why the base cards, it's not like a base card's bad, but when you have 1 million of them and you have 50 different parallels out there, then you go for the parallels if they're not through the roof.
Well, the thing that's funny too, if you think about, I mean, I'm thinking about like vlog, type stuff where it was like, you would always hear that the base stuff is very liquid. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When you'd hear like, oh, I've got this rare card, and you would see people move out of a rare card into a lot of liquid base cards. And now it's the exact opposite, where the liquid base cards are very illiquid right now, unless you're going to, take a steep, sell it at a steep discount, essentially.
Yeah. One thing that's quick though, a couple things. This was an interesting question here. Better option, grading a $1,500 card with PSA for 100 or grading the same card with SGC at 30. And I have my answer. To me, it's an obvious answer, but what do you think?
I don't know. I'm just now putting together my first submission to SGC. So I'm going to try out SGC, but for me, these are not, I think it probably depends on what are you trying to do with that card in particular. The problem is that PSA rules resale, so if that person is like, I want to resell this next week, then maybe it's PSA, but like the cards I'm sending in, it's like Earl Campbell, flawless auto, it's like something that, I'm going to grade it at 30, 25, $30, and maybe I'll sell it down the line. Maybe I'll sell it, whatever. Maybe I will sell it next week, but I don't really need, I'm not trying to do it though. I don't need to, I'm not trying to sell it in the near term. So for me, it's like, I like the slab. I trust the graders. That's the other thing. I look at the big four as far as from, and it's such a paradox to me. And I understand PSA has got brand recognition, but as far as the actual grading goes, I feel like they're all really strong. The big four, talking about PSA, BGS, SGC, and CSG. I don't look at any one of those companies as being better than the other as far as actually grading cards goes. So, for me, it's just kind of like, I don't want to necessarily follow the trend of today that, maybe PSA will be the king in, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but maybe they won't, so I don't know. I'm perfectly fine with an SGC slab. SGC is a long-time company. It's not like it's not a brand new company.
Okay.
All right. That's my rant. That's my grading rant.
Good rants. You're wrong. Anyway, the answer is PSA.
Yeah. I know. Look, I'm going with PSA. I'm going with whatever.
Here's the answer. All right. So the questions Dustin brought up are valid because it's also, is it a vintage card? Is it modern? Also, the turnaround. If you have that card at SGC for a month and it comes back versus $100 at PSA, and I don't know what the return time is. If the return time 6 months, is this an ultra modern card of an active player that you feel like you want to get rid of ASAP because maybe in 6 months time, they're in a completely different spot in their career and it's not a good time to sell. For a $1,500 card, assuming you're looking to grade at a 9 or a 10, assuming that you're like, man, this looks great. I think there's a chance of a 10, but if not a 9, I would go with PSA all day long. But the easiest thing to do is, assuming that you're good with the turnaround time, that's out of the equation. I would use, Card Ladder, Market Movers. I'd use one of those, compare the resale values of both the PSA 9 and PSA 10 and the SGC 9 and 10 and see what they're going for. And I bet the difference is going to be a lot bigger than $70. So if that $1,500 card is PSA 10, maybe it goes up to $5,000, but an SGC 10 is only $3,000. Well, I mean, if you're going to get a 10 on either, wouldn't you rather go for the one that could bring you an extra couple $1,000? So
yeah, I think part of the issue too is like, it's like what you said. I mean, if it's a vintage card and it's okay that it's an SGC 5, it's a Mickey Mantle, whatever. But if it's an ultra modern card, if you don't get an SGC 10 and you get an SGC 9 on an ultra modern,
good luck moving it.
then you're in trouble. But I've also heard people say, well, but you know what, for $25-$30, it's like getting a pre-grade, paying basically to get like somebody to, for a pre-grading fee, so maybe that person gets an SGC 9, they crack it out or whatever, they try to do something different.
Yeah. Either way, answer is PSA. I think Dustin's privately sponsored by SGC. Well, you did have
SGC if you're listening, but if you're listening, SGC, I'm listening.
He can be bought. If you're listening, any grading company out there, Dustin can be bought. All right.
No,
Well, you did.
honestly, I think it's I'm just going to butt in real quick and just say, like, I think I'm always rooting for the underdog in a way. And not that I think PSA offers great value. I buy PSA cards. I have a lot of PSA cards, but I just look at all of those 4 companies as being strong, all of them. And it's just a matter of, brand recognition or whatever. I don't think that it's, like Charles said it there, PSA is Gucci, SGC is Walmart. I don't mind the great value fiber bars, other than, as opposed to the brand name stuff.
Coming from the guy that's drinking Coke Zero or RC Cola. What's up, Teapot? Good to see you here. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to be like I'm going to nail cards to my wall. All like the junk slabs I have, just nailing them to my wall.
Just hold up cards awkwardly, just have something in the background.
Yeah. Actually, Dustin's on the opposite wall. I'm waving to Dustin right now. He's right over there. Hey, Dustin.
Oh, other way.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so you did have a wish for the other grading companies in 2022, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of just that they close the gap as far as resale goes, because I just hate to see it where, there's resale just because, or there's, higher resale because of, brand recognition that I believe that the other companies are, I think that they're all just reliable companies, so, and it's not taking away from PSA at all. I think PSA does a great job. That there's nothing against PSA. It's just that I think that there's a bunch of strong companies in the mix, and, it's just, I would like for, I guess, hopefully that there's kind of a tightening of that. I think that would be good as far as resale value goes. And I guess respect, for those slabs.
I just don't know what the other companies are doing to keep up with the perception, because it is like, why do Nike shoes sell for so much more, or anything brand name? It's the perception that it's better, right? So a lot of times, RC Cola that you're drinking sells for 25 cents from the vending machine. Coca-Cola sells it for $1, but it's pretty much the same thing. Or, if you take the labels off, people wouldn't say anything. So I'm not saying PSA is better. I'm saying the data shows that you're going to get more money at this moment versus any other grading company, with the exception of a BGS 10, like, a BGS 9.5. That's where it's a bit, hard to.
Yeah. I mean, Daniel Busby says, why not a word mentioned about BGS? I'm talking about all 4. I'm talking about BGS as well. PSA, BGS, CSG, and SGC. I think all 4 of those companies are very strong.
Okay. So in terms of predictions for next year, what did you say yours were?
I think there's going to be a rebound. And the other thing too, that's kind of odd as well is that, when I go to a card shows are slammed, so the idea that you have like, prices are down for a lot of kind of the low to mid end, type things. But man, there is a lot of action out there in person at card shows. Now, maybe it's window shopping or trading or whatever it is, but it seems to me like there's definitely a lot of interest, a lot of demand. There's a lot of action. So I'm trying to figure out too, it's like when you hear, if I'm looking at eBay data, that might not be telling the story. I mean, that might just be giving me a kind of a smaller piece of that pie than what maybe we're used to seeing, so, I think that's kind of tricky, and maybe things are just better, better than we think, it's just not good for the very, like the base stuff, the base stuff is taking a hit, but maybe outside of the base stuff, it's not as bad. Now look, I know that parallels are still down and all that, so I get it, but I mean, it's just, we're in a weird spot where I feel like during the pandemic in 2020, it was all kind of confined here to where it's like, all right, you have a lot of the transactional stuff that's happening online because it can't happen anywhere else. And now it's just not that way. Now it just feels like there's a lot of different data points.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of, the unknown, look, the overall interest in the hobby is huge. The newness, the novelty is not there because a lot of us have been in the hobby for at least 6 months, a year, maybe a year and a half, 2. More people are jumping in, but it's not like this newfound crazy fad. It's more like, oh my God, we've seen it. We've gone past that. NFTs are new now. Metaverse is now that thing.
Let me throw that in the mix. Here's my hot take. I think that a lot of flippers move to NFTs And I do think that there is a possibility that some of those folks come back to sports cards or just other types of collectibles, because again, like I think NFTs are going to have their own reckoning as well. It already has happened, with a lot of the art NFTs that are, it's where you get in at 2 ETH or 3 ETH, and now it's 0.01 ETH and you got completely smoked on it. So there has been a lot of money made in NFTs, but I'm going to make a bold prediction that it's going to circle back around in 2022. Not that NFTs go away. That's not what I'm saying, but I think that there will be some movement back. I think it'll flow back around. They love your jacket, man.
Dude, look, all right. So this is it looks, based on the angle, because I'm kind of hunched, it looks like that. It's just like a puffer jacket from Banana Republic, and it's reversible. So I count it as 2 jackets in one, and it was half off right before the holidays. So I'm happy with that.
I'm surprised you don't have your Bucks. I'm surprised you don't have your Bucks flag up for your dates coming in.
Dude, I haven't put anything on the wall. I'm still thinking what would be grown up as well as true to my inner child, and I'm trying to figure that out. I had no idea so many people were in the chat. Like, I'm way behind on the chat. It's great to see y'all. All right, bold prediction though. In terms of prediction, would be Fanatics takes over the licensing sooner than expected, sooner than the original dates, and I really hope it happens. And the reasoning why is because if it's going to happen, I'd rather it happen now, because I wouldn't want any person or company with a definite deadline before they're out to be in just this money grab situation, right? Like if Panini and Topps, they had 10-year deals, they would have to look at this in a long-term way, right? They'd have to look at, okay, well, year 5, year 7, how do we make sure we're in a good spot for the next decade, when they know that their time is limited? Not saying it will be a cash grab, even though a lot of people would say it is a cash grab right now, but it's a lot easier for it to be a cash grab when you know that you're going to be out in a year, in 2 years, right? Why not just make all the money you can and then leave, and it doesn't matter. It's the same thing as if you are leaving your job and you put in your 2 weeks notice and you don't need that reference. Let's just say you already have a reference in the bag, or you don't have to put that job down. Are you really going to show up to work extra early and work extra hard in your last 2 weeks? Or are you just going to coast and be like, you know what, I'm going to take an extra 5 minutes break here, extra long lunch break there. It's the same thing as, graduating high school and having, getting past your exams. You don't really care after that point. You know that your time is limited. So if Fanatics could take over a year shorter, like if that could be announced, that would be huge. The other thing I would love to see happen is PSA, maybe eBay, but really PSA or Fanatics. Yeah, I guess those are the really 2 companies to announce something overseas. I would love for them to say, we are expanding and we're opening a headquarters in Asia or in London, or some place where it goes, holy crap, this completely changes the hobby abroad, because now these same people are watching soccer, watching basketball, maybe watching football or baseball. They're definitely watching MMA, tennis, these other sports. But every time I look in the comments and it's, one of the guys from Australia or Germany or somewhere in Asia, it's always like, we wish we could have what you guys have because it's so easy for you. We have to go through this and this cost and this delay.
Yeah, there's pent-up demand, a lot of pent-up demand over there. Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I heard Luber talk about, he kind of hinted at it, which I thought was really interesting. And I think this would be a really, really smart move. And I'm sure a lot of people in the chat would agree with this, or maybe not. Maybe I'm about to get smoked in the chat. But
just like the video anyway.
Like,
just go over to Dustin's video and dislike.
I just set myself up. I know everyone's going to love this comment, and then it's like complete, terrible.
How'd you know, Steve?
There was hinting at publishing print runs, but the idea, here's the thing. Here's why they should do that. Here would be my reasoning for it, is because Luber wants to have product everywhere. That's kind of what he said. Like, they want to have it everywhere, even at the Wawa gas station. They talked about everywhere, just like it was in like junk wax era, 80s, 90s when I started out. So, but one way that you could do that to kind of make it interesting is if everybody knows if you know the print runs on everything, if there's that transparency there, then if you are a collector or an investor or whatever, hybrid, whatever the hell you are, you can then pick and choose and pick your price point at where you want to enter in. And then you get those graded, or, then you have the nuance of,
More
what's high grade, what's
confidence.
low grade, all that. But if they have, if they have their National Treasures Flawless brand, but we know exactly how many there are, and then they have their Hoops brand, whatever that is, and we know that they printed 2 million of each card or whatever, then it just makes it's okay for them to have a million different products because we know how much is out there for each one. So then, it's like that whole oh, the kids aren't getting cards. Well, no, the kids can get the cards. They can get the hoops or whatever. And then the high-end players, the ones that are spending huge money, they can get the National Treasures Flawless or whatever. It just seems like common sense. Like if that's how you're going to do it, that's, if you are going to blow it out and you're going to 10X and you're going to print a zillion, have a lot of different products at the Wawas and everywhere, then why not do it like that?
It's the same reason why serial numbered cards do well. We at least know how many there are. And obviously you're not going to serial number every single card period, but the whole point of it being serial numbered is not so that it says it on the back per se, but it's so that there's X amount. Now, of course, the lower the number, the jersey number, that adds value. But the point is that it gives us a sense of confidence that there's only 99 of this card. So if they go out and say, yes, there's only going to be 500,000 of this base card, and maybe that's obviously that's probably a more popular product, but 500,000 of this, 300,000, 6,000, whatever. And then we know that, okay, and then there's 10 parallels, there's 20 parallels. We can actually go ahead and be like, okay, I think this is the move. I like this one. There's only 2,000, there's only 8,000, whatever. And I like this color match or whatever it is.
And I think people, I know there's some of my hobby is, the content creator friends, they'll like argue with me on this, but I do think that over the last year, hobbyists, collectors, investors, everyone's gotten smarter about what's what and scarcity and supply, demand, and all that. By the time that Fanatics really takes over, the people that have gotten into the collectible space for investment or collecting or whatever, they're already going to know all this stuff. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, is this rare? Is this scarce? They're going to know, they're going to have an idea. They're going to know the pitfalls. They're going to understand price points that don't seem right or whatever. I just think that people they're going to get smarter, and so if you're Fanatics, you have got to be, treat it like what it is. It's an evolving market that, needs to be taken seriously. That you can't just do it the old way. It can't be done how it's always been done.
Yeah. And Tim, I'm Brad. That's Dustin. I didn't really have a joke there. I wanted to, but I didn't think of one. I'm like, whatever. Well, here's the thing. Again, it goes back to, will Fanatics do it? I don't know. But if they're paying this amount of money for it and they have these big plans and they're going to be the one in charge for so long, hopefully they at least think, okay, not just 1 year, not just 5 years, but maybe, I don't know, 8 or 10 years. Because maybe it's like they already know, okay, our plans are so big. It's not just buying the licenses for the next X amount of years, which I don't know when it expires. Did you remember when the licenses would expire from Fanatics?
Fanatics deal, I think, is like a 20-year deal, man.
Okay. So good. The point is that 20-year deal, this is such a big thing, and their vision's got to be so massive that hopefully they would not go for the quick money soon, but say, okay, maybe it's just start with one product and be like, this is the product we're going to put everywhere, and it's going to be like 10 million.
I've got it. Here's another fun little thing that you could do if you're Fanatics. All right. So you print a zillion of these hoops, whatever it is, and you have it out there that you've got it. Maybe you don't sell it all. Maybe Walmart can't sell it. They send it back and they burn it. So they destroy it. So maybe they printed, it's kind of like, you hear about burning NFTs or burning, cryptocurrency or whatever. So it takes that supply out of the market. That could be something that's kind of interesting if you have, young people that bought into the hoops because that's their price point at $1 a pack. And then half of it gets taken out of the market, out of the supply because it didn't sell on the shelves or whatever. So they destroy it. Then maybe it gives, a little bit more, maybe the prices for the hoops go up from, $1, whatever. Now it's a $5 card or whatever. Those are kind of fun. To me, that would be kind of like a fun thing, fun collectibles thing.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be a really interesting nuance. There was a one comment here about Chris who's talking about the economy and interest rates, and that's another reason why I'd love for the card market to go international because again, inflation, money printing, interest rates going up. That's obviously the whole world's going through like inflation, or like most of the world is, and there's all this COVID stuff and whatever. The point is that the more countries that are interested in sports cards that can be involved, the better I would feel about holding cards because maybe there's a country in Asia or Europe that's just doing amazing and they love cards, while here it's rough times. Well, maybe there's that business is able to continue, and I'm able to move some of my cards or whatever else. So the more countries, the more of like a more confidence I have and the more of a hedge that we all have. Okay, another thing, prediction for next year. I feel like 2021 was the maturing of the hobby itself, like the people, the knowledge. It wasn't just like throw money at anything and it'll go up. It's the tough lessons we all learned, but also I feel like 2022 will be the maturing of the media side. And so I actually expect more A-listers. Like you see Logan Paul really being in Pokemon and becoming one of the top faces in Pokemon cards. I feel like more A-listers or like people with lots of followers, like Gary Vee size followers, more of them being heavy into cards, even if it's the high-end stuff, because I think that would draw in the average person that wants to buy some raw cards or whatever. Because I feel like we had that in 2020. I don't really know. We had a couple athletes. I saw Giannis and then KD, and there's some athletes that are interested, but I'd love to see like another, not full-time, but like pseudo full-time A-lister that's like gung-ho about cards. I'd like to see that, but I really think that the media side will be very mature because we're seeing a lot more high budget projects being done or being worked on right now. And we have Ken Golden's show. There's a couple projects I know about that are happening. And there's just a lot that I think is going to come out, but it takes some extra time to get the resources, to get the funding, to put all the pieces in place. But when we have the high quality media products being put out there, I think that's when it could really hit the person who's scrolling through Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu or whatever podcast or whatever channel. They can come across cards in a way that they didn't even search for it, but it just kind of popped up and it's good enough for someone outside the hobby to be really interested in. So I think if something's going to push the hobby next year that didn't push it this year, I would think it's the media side has the biggest bump.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if you look at what Fanatics wants to do, and if you look at kind of, think about the players, you've got Gary Vee, you've got DJ Ski, and these guys are all connected. DJ Ski is interviewing Snoop Dogg and doing trades with, big time celebrities. The idea, I think, behind a lot of this is cards are cool. Collectibles are cool. It's part of the culture. The culture. That's the big thing is that, I think that that's really kind of the main thrust and the main push. You see a lot of focus on young people getting into it. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the vlogs, a lot of the, we were joking about the card show vlogs, but you see a lot of them, interviewing young people, how are you getting, getting people involved, having different trade nights for young people. There's a huge push for this to be, more of a staple, I think, in regular everyday life. And then, like you had mentioned, I think there's also a big push for this to be considered a real alternative investment, not just like, oh, you got some baseball cards in your attic. There's a big push for this to be more legitimized as, an asset class. Now, whether that happens and evolves like that, we'll have to see how that goes. But I just saw Chris pop in. Vegas finds.
Oh, great. I saw this one right here. I know what you're talking about, Dan.
Good Lord.
That's taken out of context.
No. He wakes up every morning imagining that so that he has a good day moving forward.
So he puts things into perspective.
The worst possible thing.
Yes. Right. So it's like he imagines his family like not being around or healthy or whatever, so that he can take whatever disappointment in business as like a very small deal. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of it's just going to be, we'll have to see how it plays out. I actually think, the negative, or I guess kind of the battle between businesses, I do think there's going to be, my prediction will be there will be a selling platform, or maybe a couple that go away. I know that you talked about kind of grading companies, but I just feel like there's a lot of selling platforms. I think there's going to be more of them too. I don't think that we've seen the last selling platform for cards. I think there'll be more of them.
You
And
don't think anyone you think there's room for more card platforms, as in, because like, is there room for just more, or is it you can exist, but this one's gonna have to die? Because I just
yeah,
don't
I
see
mean,
us all going
and
to
I guess, and I'm
8
not
different
talking,
platforms.
I don't think there's going to be a platform where it's like mom and pop platform where, like, a handful of buddies get together and throw it together. I think it would be more of like big corporate money moving in, doing something different than everybody else is doing. But I just think if you just look at the existing players between Alt and Golden and PWCC and eBay, there's a lot of battling going on between some large companies, and so I'm not saying that any one of those will, I think they're going to go out of business, but that's just a lot of, and then you've got smaller auction houses. You have a lot of long-time auction houses too that we're not even talking about.
Well, the problem is that look, when I took all my slabs from the national and I split them up for the different platforms, the trouble is that you have the platform like eBay, which most people know of and at least consider when they're purchasing. And then you have a lot of the small ones where it seems like people go to find deals because they're so advanced in the hobby. They know of every platform and they could scour for deals, while the person selling ends up regretting it because they're selling for less than what they could get on eBay, even with the higher fees. So,
Yeah.
I do see a couple platforms that have been around for a while doing better. It's just tough when the only incentive to use a platform is to buy cards cheaper on eBay, which means that a seller is now probably regretting putting it on that platform because the card's not moving,
Well, and
or not
actually,
moving for the same price.
what's probably more important than the actual platform, or the platform wars, are the vault wars. The vault wars between PWCC, Golden, Alt, and whoever else gets into that. Hey, what's up, Jeremy? Whoever else gets into that space where they're trying to hold as many cards as they can in the vault, because if you go to sell, they've got it. They're holding it. They want to hold that inventory. They want to be the place to go, for that stuff, so that when you do decide to sell, it's already there. It's convenient, so a lot of that's been, you've seen that play out kind of over this year where, Golden's offering a deal and PWCC is offering a deal and Alt's offering a deal, I mean,
That's why I don't see that there's room for all of them. I would say, if anything, there's more strategic partnerships where it's like, okay, PWCC was with eBay and that seemed to work for a bit, but now it might be, all right, this platform and this platform combine so that they actually have a chance. Because if they're all competing with each other, like, look, one of the reasons why I felt pretty good about sending cards to Comp C is because it's dual listed on eBay. If I have to take cards off of eBay, it makes me nervous. So whether it's using my slabs, which has been really good to me, I could still list on eBay. One of them will sell, right? Maybe it's my slabs, maybe it's eBay. My slabs sells, their fees are way lower, but they don't have the reach that eBay has just yet. So what do? Okay, I'll put my card, mark my card down 10%, or maybe it's the same price because a person on the other end wants to buy it on my slabs, because I don't think they charge tax. I believe they don't, but actually, I don't know. Maybe they do. I haven't bought on my slabs. I've only sold. So, but the point is, maybe someone wants to buy on my slabs. But it's tough when the first place platform is leaps and bounds ahead, and at least that's for the majority of cards. Maybe not like the super rare stuff that you see at the auction houses, but the average card. So I see it more of like, y'all got to either combine forces and find a niche somewhere, or you're going to go out of business, at least one or two of you, because I don't see it that much happening, like that much
I
business.
think too, and I was watching this. I'm just going to take this off to a side road here for a second, but I'll explain why. So I was watching Beanie Mania, and it's all about Beanie Babies. It's a documentary on HBO Max. Great documentary, just kind of talking about the rise and fall of Beanie Babies. But in 1997, and that was kind of like when eBay was a brand new company. It was coming, well, not brand new, but it was pretty new. in 1997, and there was like $100 million worth of Beanie Babies that were sold on eBay, in 1 year or something. It was wild, the amount of money that they sold in just Beanie Babies. And if you look at eBay going back, and sure, they've made some changes here and there, but for a technology company, in the last 20 years, there hasn't been drastic changes, and maybe they don't really need to make drastic changes. If it ain't broke, don't fix it for certain parts of eBay. But this is the first time ever where eBay is really going to be pressed by competitors in this space in particular. There's never been a time where there's been, at least that I know of anyway, where there's going to be such heated competition to try to take that, that auction business from them, so and I think I saw PWCC has got now like 7-day auctions or 10-day auctions. They're starting to
every week now.
So they're going to try to take some of that market share or all of it if they can. But I mean, this is the first time that you've really seen them pressed, so that'll be kind of interesting. I think the consumer kind of wins in that world because, maybe eBay drops their selling fees, or maybe, maybe it makes everybody drop fees. I don't know, but that's something I'm watching closely next year.
Yeah. And look, guys, competition's good. The reason why I think some platforms would have to partner with each other is to actually compete, because if they're all going against eBay, which is, it's just like the giant, it's like the Amazon or the, the Apple or the Google of sports cards. Good luck. It's like PSA, Fanatics soon, and eBay are the three major companies in different aspects of the hobby where they have such a big lead, or at least it appears that it's going to take a lot of really good execution and strategic partnership or whatever, or a really strong offer to get someone to go away from a platform where there's a good chance you could sell it easily, or a grading company where it looks like you can get the most amount for the card, or in terms of Fanatics, or you don't really have competition. Anyway, one more thing I would love to see. This is a wish list, because everyone's like, what cards are you buying right now? And I'm like, dude, I want to sell my stuff so I could buy more. But what I like is that so many other non-sport cards are doing well, that I feel a lot better going into other areas, because I really don't even like basketball now. I don't have many basketball cards. It's just the old stuff, which when I was a kid, I liked basketball. Now I just don't even care. So it's cool, because what I would love to see, especially Fanatics, if they could do this. I know Leaf right now does celebrity cards. I just don't really like them. I don't think they look good. I don't think the celebrities are even that good. It's kind of like a random person I haven't even heard of. I would love for celebrity cards to be worked on and improved, because I really believe that if you can get a 1991 Matthew McConaughey Dazed and Confused card, that could be worth a fortune. If you can get Dwayne The Rock Johnson in, I think, Scorpion King, like people are getting Dwayne The Rock Johnson cards now, his University of Miami one, but his fame is mostly from his movie career, not his wrestling career.
So what would be interesting though is if you think about how much like movie memorabilia they auction off, so like movie set stuff. Think about that, because that's not that different from like a game used jersey, So if you take that, and I wonder, would that cross over and be popular? Whereas like what you're saying is, you take a piece of the set, it's in a card or whatever that thing is.
I mean, look, think of it this way. I know there's, you have to strike a lot of deals with agencies, with studio heads. It's not an easy thing. However, I saw Red Notice when it was on Netflix, when it just came out on Netflix a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, hey, you know what? Is it the best movie ever? No. But for Netflix, I think it's a great movie. It's Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, and Gal Gadot. Imagine all three of them, a card, a piece of each of their like nice jackets or their dress or whatever, autographed. That should be a $10,000, $20,000 card, right? Like it could be really high end, but to me, I think that's way better. Ryan Reynolds in Waiting, right? Or one of these actors in their first little role before they became big. Maybe it was their first blockbuster movie.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was the vintage stuff. It's kind of like what Kyle mentions, like Al Pacino in Scarface. If you took something from that movie set with his signature on it, and it's he wore it in Scarface or whatever, like that would be big. I would think. I think that would be cool.
Because look, at the end of the day, what's cool about a lot of these movie stars, a lot of these people, is that you watch them because you're entertained. They're not playing for your team or against it. So it's like The Rock, as far as I'm concerned, is playing for my team because my team is just wanting him on the screen and laughing, right? Kevin Hart, a lot of these people where I'm not turning him away because he's playing for a different team. And a lot of these actors, some of them will have really long careers. Like some of them will just be in one movie and you think they're going to be the next big thing. And then they go party and then they're out and you never see them again. You have some Tara Reeds who are like really popular for a few years and then they had their
Brad's
moment.
Gonna be doing, in 5 years, Brad's gonna be doing videos on like, are you speculating on Tara Reid cards right now? Or are you gonna
honestly
go with
would like that.
No, I'm buying Clint Eastwood vintage stuff.
Dude, I would love to like, look at it and be like, hey, you know what? It was this actor in that, or like the new Marvel movie. A new Marvel movie comes out and there's like a new face or whoever plays the next Wolverine and be like, you know what? I think they're really onto something. I could see this guy being in movies for the next 20 years. Leonardo DiCaprio, you get one of his cards from early 90s. I don't know what he did before Titanic, if it was Man in the Iron Mask, if that was before or after, but you get one of his
Gilbert Grape.
Okay. See, I never went that far back. So, but the point is that you get one of these actors or actresses, or maybe just people in society that have a big platform, because now influencers are the new celebrities. Logan Paul. If Logan Paul had a legit rookie card autograph available a year or two ago, and imagine that was $100, you look at him and you say, I think this guy is talking a lot to Floyd Mayweather, who's a very savvy marketer. This guy's young. He's very people love him or hate him, which is good. I think this guy could have a big future. Why can't we do that with people in society and celebrities and not just athletes? So that's what I'd love to see.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting take. Yeah, I think people love cards of all different kinds. Yeah. So people are buying, I've got Abraham Lincoln cards, I've got, so it's a thing for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Cruise, like a Top Gun, how awesome would that be? A Top Gun autograph card from Tom Cruise, and it has a piece of his jacket. Like, you tell me you wouldn't rather have that than, I don't know, LaMelo Ball or Tyler Hero, or these guys that more than likely they're not going to be anything big. I'd put Tom Cruise.
Game use Scientology shirt. Holy. And they're sold out. They're sold out.
Yeah, you see the back, like the statistics, 19 conversions. All right.
Let's shift gears quickly.
Yeah, I think it's time to wrap up at 7:13.
What's that?
Yeah, I saw Tiger King. So there are some. It's just kind of weird and random. I would love to see a National Treasures quality celebrity deck where you on card autos, pieces of the jersey. It's high end. It's going to cost a lot, but it's something that a collector would say, this is amazing. This is like memorabilia. This would be the rookie card of this actor or, influencer or whatever. Go on.
Well, I wonder too, I was just thinking as you said that, it's like if Panini and Topps are not acquired, do they kind of go that route where it's like, that's an interesting route to go, celebrity cards where you make your own deals? You're not working with the sports leagues, you're working with the studios, you're working with Disney, or you're working with Universal or whatever it is. I don't know. That could be like an interesting play by Topps or Panini or both or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I would say this, what it would probably have to happen is that deals have to be signed with the studios, so that the studio says like, okay, we're going to make Marvel cards, or we're going to make whatever cards. And then there might have to be other deals with the actual talent agencies. But I have a video going over my wish list, which I basically summarized here. But if Fanatics is on it, and Josh Luber, if you're interested in this, if this intrigues you, I would love for that to be involved in that. That would be my dream in the sports card hobby, to be on the ground here in LA, getting involved with the celebrity card side. Because honestly, I don't know if Leaf has the resources or the care to even bring it to where I think it could go. But Fanatics definitely has the money. Do they have the interest? Probably not now, but they have the money. Anyway,
I like it. Well, we know what Brad's next job is going to be. At Fanatics.
This is good. I got
National
it.
Treasures. Yes.
Yes, got it.
Oh
Got
man.
it. Good,
And
good one,
honestly,
Nathan.
like, and if it was numbered, those cards, I don't care. Like those cards would sell out. There's no way those cards would like numbered to 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I guess Panini did some of that in the past, but I'd like to see who, and it's also the past doesn't mean where the hobby is today. I'd love to see it in today's hobby. But anyway, dude, this is our last live stream before the new year. Any New Year's resolutions, anything you want to share before we head out?
I need to drop a few LBs. So I have not been sticking to my intermittent fasting. I'm looking a little bit heavy in the face. So I'm also really close to the camera too. But yeah,
You look
so a little
bloated,
bit of
You look inflamed.
Yeah, there's some inflammation going on. So yeah, I'm gonna drop a few pounds in the new year, hit the weights a little bit. That's definitely gonna be a New Year's resolution. So I would say just kind of more the same. I have made videos on just a more focused approach next year. I love kind of the collection that I built, but I've got kind of more defined areas where I want to, like these set cards. So I'm going to focus on that list first. And then after we get through that list, then, and look, not to say I won't like go off the deep end and get things here and there, but instead of it just being like, ooh, cool, a shiny thing that I like, it's going to be more of like, here's like a more, set defined path to it next year.
Nice. Yeah, very, very cool stuff. Good luck on the weight loss. I'll hold you to it. I'll help you out.
You'll notice in the chat, I want to hear like, does the face start to slim down a little bit? And you know what?
Yeah.
You're going to see it happen. It's going to happen right before our eyes. It's going to be great. I know the roadmap. It's just executing it. That's all.
There you go. A couple things, definitely pivots for me, less videos, like as you've seen, less videos for me, obviously with less cards selling, that means I'm buying less. Also, I got my coaching business I'm focusing on next year. I have a new podcast project that I'm working on with a podcast producer here. I've mentioned it a couple times, but he's launched a few celebrity podcasts. Anna Faris's podcast he was on there with. He's launching David Spade's. So this is his thing, and he loves sports cards. He's a huge collector, and so we're working on a project together. That's also why, if you saw that post where I was asking if anyone is interested in a paid gig, they're good at audio.
I emailed you. I didn't hear back though. Was that maybe it just got lost in spam?
Your stuff goes straight to junk. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it's automatically blocked.
I'm like, hey, I know a YouTuber. Just saying.
Yeah,
that's a joke, guys. I don't want to work with Brad.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Yeah. Well, anyway, like I was gonna say you can't afford us. I was like, nah, that doesn't make sense. But anyway, so we're working on that. Give it a couple months for it to come out, but I'm really excited because that's gonna be a big project, and who I'm working with is very much into cards, is making a lot of good contacts now, and has the highest quality of production. Pretty much imagine Dustin's quality, but then the exact opposite. That's what this will be. So excited about that.
Sounds like it's going to be horrible. Go ahead.
And then no, it's going to be great. Like you'll lose tons of viewers and subs. It'll suck for you, but I'll have you on from time to time. Yeah. Second thing is I want to be working with people in the community face to face. So I'm thinking of ways to really be able to do more face-to-face stuff, whether it's Zoom or in person, but probably Zoom, not really card related, but just other stuff. Because I think that, what's cool about the community is that we shoot the shit every week, and we know that we're all people in cards, but we got lives outside of cards. And that's why I talk about my dating life and moving and stuff like that. So there's a lot of big things that I'll reveal in the next couple of weeks, but definitely looking for more interaction and more connection. And yeah, we'll see. I'm already in pretty good shape. I don't really care to lose the last 5 pounds because I'd rather just eat dessert. But that's it, man. So Dustin, thanks for joining me for the final show of the year. Thank you everyone in the chat as well. It's been an amazing year, and I can't wait to see you in 2022.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me, Brad.
You got it. Happy New Year, guys.
See you next week.
See ya. See you next year.